What's up, gang? Welcome back to another video. It's your girl Shanika, and I see you guys really enjoyed my video on how much can travel histologists make. Who wouldn't enjoy a video talking about money? So it just makes me feel really good that you guys are actually considering traveling. So I hope that video was very helpful for you guys. So today I'm going to get into a few things that you guys should consider in your first year of histology. This can be for travel histology, or this can be your first year as a histotech. These are just some things that I think that you guys should focus on when you are working in a histology lab. So before we get into the video, do not forget to join the gang. Okay, let's go ahead and get right into the video. So the first thing you want to consider focusing on whenever you are a first-time histologist, or you're in your first year of travel histology, or if you're in your first year of working in a histology lab, that would be to focus on your embedding, your cutting, and your quality. Those three things will never change. Do not be concerned about speed. I get a lot of questions about speed, how to become faster at microtomy, how to become faster at embedding. Speed is a factor, but it's always quality over quantity. Now, you may work at some spots where they want you to be extra fast, but that's just being productive. But whenever you are new, you want to be in a comfortable space. You want to make sure that you're working in a lab that understands that you won't be the fastest whenever you are first starting off, and you will not be fast at embedding. You won't be the fastest at cutting. But I really don't understand why people are so concerned about how fast you are. I mean, I still talk to other histotechs, and they are saying how many blocks they cut an hour, or how many blocks that they can embed. And sometimes as a older tech, that's just been embedded in your mind. And I definitely don't want you guys as new histotechs to have that type of mindset. Whenever I worked at my derm lab, my boss used to come in the lab, true story. My boss used to come in the lab, and he would want the girl at the time to time me. How fast was I embedding? How fast was I cutting? So I was doing like 1 minute to embed, 1 minute to cut. And when you think about it, a minute to embed is popping the top off, embedding it correctly, filling it up with wax, putting it to the cold plate. That literally takes a minute. But you want to make sure your block is embedded good. But he used to time me on embedding. He used to time me on how long it takes to cut a slide. That eventually helped me, just so I can prove to him and prove to myself, or mainly his ass, mainly prove to him like, yo, like, this is unnecessary. But if you want to push me to the point to where you feel like I'm not fast enough or I'm not good enough, well, of course I'm not fast enough, because I was new at that derm lab. But in hindsight, I'm thinking to myself, like, I would not want any other histotechs to go through that same thing, to where they have to feel the pressure of being fast or being the fastest, or you feel like that you're not cutting fast enough compared to other histotechs. From my personal experience, you will be in a lab to where maybe the histotech beside you could be cutting way more blocks than you. And I'm letting you know, sometimes other techs can get intimidated by that, but if you just like focus on you and focus on what you're doing, and if you're new to that lab, especially as a traveler, especially as a new histotech, speed will come. Like, do not worry about speed. The main thing is quality. So if you are producing quality slides, and you don't have to recut your blocks over, or you don't have to get a better section, that is what's gonna matter the most. So focus on your embedding, your orientation, make sure your blocks look good, focus on your cutting, because if you cut too fast, guess what can happen? Accidents can happen. You can get cut by the blade, you could chuck the block out. That's going to add more time to you going to re-embed that block. It's just a lot of things that can happen if you are just rushing through things. Quality is what matters. Quality over quantity. Any day, I don't care what lab you work at, if you was to do an interview and they ask you a question like that, what's most important, or tell me some things that you think that's important with cutting, if you tell them the answer, you know what, I feel like quality is as important as quantity, because I would rather have a quality slide for the pathologist. 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10, you'll probably ace that question. So that's my personal tip for you guys. Focus on those 3 things only. All right, so tip number 2 is, if you are working in a small lab, a great thing is to file, to load the processor, to clean the processor, to do the pending list, to do any type of lab duties in addition to your histology duties. I feel like a lot of histotechs, we can get a little spoiled, especially if we work in a big facility like I do, and a lot of the lab techs take care of majority of the workflow, and we just have to make sure that we are, doing the main histology duties, which I'm not complaining because I used to do a lot of things manually, and I used to be a one-woman show, so I'm not complaining at all. But for some newer histotechs, I want you guys to know that you're watching someone who has ran a lab. And I filed blocks, I've did the processor, I've dumped xylene, I've cleaned the processor. And we're not talking about some nice Polaris's, I'm talking about some old ass Histotechs, some old processor, to where it was like literally on the floor. I got stories, okay? But I've done that. I've also did send outs. I know how to receive blocks. I know how to do the maintenance. I mean, I've done it all. I remember where we had a hurricane in Florida, and literally the wax was solidified, and my boss still wanted to, the same boss, he still wanted to run the lab. I had to get like this little blowtorch and melt the paraffin, because the embedding station could not melt the paraffin quick enough. I promise you guys, if I can find a video, I will insert the clip right here if I still have the video. But I just want you to be a well-rounded histotech. I'm not saying that you need to volunteer to do those things, but if you are working in a smaller lab and you have the opportunity to do other duties, that will make you a well-rounded histotech. And also too, a lab tech would definitely appreciate that out of you, because there is this narrative sometimes that a lab tech can possibly feel that they're beneath a histotech, and that is not true. And I've had my lab tech friends tell me, you know what, Shanika, I wish other histotechs feel that way. So you guys are not, if you're watching this and you're a lab tech currently, you guys know how I feel about lab techs. You guys know that you can easily transition from a lab tech to a histotech with, an opportunity, just as much as a histotech coming off the street can become a histotech. And also to a lab tech, because if it wasn't for you guys actually make the lab function. So I always believe it, because I used to, do everything. So I definitely have much respect for lab techs. You guys are not beneath us. So let me just make sure I make that clear. Any laboratory professional that may work in a histology lab is not just beneath. Like, I don't feel like I'm beneath a pathologist, which, on the food chain, I may be, but at the end of the day, we are all equal when it comes to running the function of the lab and, for patient care. So that's the type of mentality that I want to instill in you guys.